Cafe in Stratford with that terrible twinges. We then went out into the country and looking for a haystack, and we found a haystack, or what we thought was a haystack. And Patrick immediately just died on the spot. And I don't know what's wrong with me, but I always have to build a little house. So I'm building a bivouac of straw and taking good armfuls of this thing. Lovely piece of architecture. And suddenly it wasn't straw I had anymore in my hand, it was dung. And we were in a dung heap, and they'd put the straw on to keep it warm and alive. And of course nothing could shift us by then, we were too tired, so the following morning we were very warm and alive and dungy, and no one would speak to us. And then we got as far as Oxford in a lorry. We got a lift in a lorry from Oxford to London, which dropped us at Euston Station, still reeking the while. And we were going to the YMCA, because we could get a bed there. To get to the YMCA from Euston Station, you walk down Gower Street, and there's the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. I was dungy and very hairy. We walked in. I said, I'm going to see what the form is here, Patrick. So Patrick came in with me. I spoke to the commissioner and I said, I'd very much like to join your list of pupils, but I haven't got any money. Could you suggest anything? And he was giving me a whole sermon about auditions, and I was too late. And Sir Kenneth Barnes, God rest his soul, came walking through, and he said, what's the problem? And I explained to him. I told him a lie, actually. I told him I'd just got out of the Navy. In fact, I'd been out of the Navy for about 3 months. And I was very anxious to start as time was slipping past, and I'd, given my white body to His Majesty for 2 years. And he was very sympathetic and said if I came back in the afternoon, he would give me a personal private audition. So I went to the YMCA. I borrowed a blazer, a YMCA blazer, and a YMCA tie and a shirt and a pair of trousers. And I shaved, and while I was shaving, Patrick went into one of the little cubicles. It's a coy thing. I'm in the lavatory, and I finished shaving. I said, Pat, I'm off. He said, all right, so off I went. Well, I auditioned and everything. I came out of it anyhow with a scholarship, which gave me £6 a week, and free fees, etc., etc., etc. And the whole course of my life had changed. I got back to YMCA about 6, and I was full of the joys of spring, as you can imagine. Went into the cloakroom, the gents again, to take off my borrowed plumes. Suddenly the door of the lavatory opened, and out came Patrick. And everything was asleep. His whole leg was shriveled, and his face was like a piece of newspaper, crumpled newspaper. And he was groaning and grunting. And he'd slept on the lavatory. Everything had changed for me. Everything had gone beautifully, and the whole pattern of the life had changed. And there was old Pat, stumbling out the loo, sound asleep. Everything was dead. He got pins and needles. I wasn't interested in my great fortune at all. I can see it so clearly now, while Patrick slept.
What did you do for your audition?
Hamlet, I remember, and Cyrano de Bergerac.
And after Rada, you went to the Bristol Old Vic. Who was your director?
John Moody was the director. Nat Brenner, to whom I owe more than I can tell you, was the administrative director, and is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the few geniuses I've ever encountered. He auditioned me initially, and from 300 people, he got me the first job I ever had. I spent 3 years at Bristol. 3 very happy years.
What was the first role you had there?
The cabman in The Matchmaker. In fact, my first year and a half at Bristol was spent, playing old men. Peter Hall tells a story now, which is that he went to John Moody, having seen me in Major Barbara, and said, who's this splendid old fellow you've got? Why haven't we heard? Has he been in the reps or what? Which I find rather nice, and of course I was then 22. But I was always covered. In fact, I'm going to be knighted for services to crepe hair, I think, because this is all I did was disguises. Very good at disguises.
You played Hamlet before you left the Old Vic?
Indeed, yes.
Did you enjoy playing Hamlet? Is it supposed to be everybody's ambition? Did you in fact enjoy it?
Did I? I don't know. Bits, half and half. I suppose I did, I suppose I didn't. I don't think it's a very good part.
You must be alone in that.
Yes. Not, I mean, I'm sure it's a marvellous part for some people. It's certainly not a good part for me.
What is the part that you've played that you consider a good part for you?
Shylock.
Tell me about your acting of Shylock. What did you feel about this part? It's a very controversial role, I know.
Yes. Well, I'm in the delightful situation of never having seen anyone play it before, which is a great help. It's the part I've always known about and read about and always wanted to do. I've seen photographs of people playing Shylock, and they look like very sooty little pawnbrokers from ghettos, or very oily, overdressed, elderly Arab ladies. You know, but I just approached it completely freshly. I went to a man called Moylwyn Merchant, who was my wife's tutor in English, who was a fine man, and loved the theatre, and very erudite. I spent a week with him, just seeing what the words meant. Oh, in fact, having a little intellectual gab. And we thrashed it down to details and went up a mountain for 2 weeks after that to do the dirty business of learning the part. And then turned up at Stratford with my own idea of it, which coincided with the director's idea of it, and away we went. I mean, the people say I'm young to play it, and I play him as young. Well, I do, because I can't see why he should be old. I mean, an old man in Elizabethan times was a man of 50. I mean, if you survived the plumbing.
And he has a very young daughter.
Indeed, and of course there's, thousands of reasons why he should be younger.
Did you know what the producer had in mind before you came into rehearsal?
Not a clue. In fact, Michael Langham, who directed it, rang me up when I meet him, and we found that we were agreed. It was one of those happy things. I mean,
do you like to have a strong producer? A producer who knows exactly what
I
you
like
want?
to have a talented producer. And if his strength lies in his talent, then I'm very happy. But directors, they're very rare. I mean, it's a strange thing to say, I know. This is a director's theatre, people tell me. But a director was, what was he initially? He was 19th century innovation to protect the author from the vagaries of the actor-manager. I think it's time that someone turned up to protect the actor, the author, the public from the vagaries of the director. I know that with a good play and a fairish old set and good actors, you could chain a baboon in the stalls for 3 weeks and you get a production. But if by any miracle you find a director, what is he? He's a midwife, come doctor, come love affair, come helper, come audience. If you can find, I mean, like someone like Guthrie or Michael or Dennis Carey. I mean, really first-class people. In other words, someone with a good theatre mind, but they're very rare.
There must have been a lot of people in your life who've had a strong influence of some kind over you. Can you tell me about some of them?
Yes, I can. My father always had a great influence over everything I've ever done. They call me a wild man quite often in the newspapers. It's my persona. But my father could outwild me, I'm here to tell you. Who was always, no matter what I've decided to do, has been behind me 100%. A wonderful man, great wit. He's a bookmaker, very snappy dresser, and he's never, ever held back on anything. The only advice he ever gave me is when he said, "Oh, son, now I'm too old to set a bad example. Start setting good ones," he said. And gave me a little piece of advice. For God's sake, if you want to do something, do it. And then he can't bear dreary people who say, "Oh, if only I had." He said, never do that. Just do the bloody thing. And no matter what it costs you or what you do, get on with it. Have a go. Everything's a challenge. So, which has been an enormous push for me. He's never stopped me doing anything. He's always pushed me into it.